Osman Ghazi ben Ertugrul, sometimes transliterated in the past as Othman or Ottoman or Atman and nicknamed Kara, was the leader of the Ottoman Turks and the founder and namesake of the dynasty that established and ruled the Ottoman Empire. The state, while only a small principality during Osman's lifetime, would prevail as a world empire under Osman's dynasty for the next 6 centuries after his death. It existed until the abolition of the Sultanate in 1922, or alternatively, the proclamation of the Republic of Turkey in 1923, or the abolition of the Caliphate in 1924. Osman announced the independence of his own small principality from the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum in July 27, 1299, and was acclaimed the Khan of the Kaya tribe. The Ottoman Principality was just one of many small Turkish principalities in Anatolia at the time that emerged after the dissolution of the Seljuks, all of which the Ottomans would eventually conquer to reunite Anatolia under Turkish rule. The westward drive of the Mongol invasions had pushed scores of Muslims toward Osman's principality, a power base that Osman was quick to consolidate. As the Byzantine Empire declined, the Ottoman Empire rose to take its place. Controversy in the origins of his name, Osman. Since the classical era of the Ottoman Empire, it has been believed that Osman I was named after Uthman ibn Affan, who was the third Rashid Caliph of Islam and one of the companions of the Islamic prophet, Muhammad. However, some historians claim that Osman I's original name was Atman. This claim is based on the chronicles written by Byzantine historian George Pachymeres, who was contemporary to Osman I. The lettering gives sibilant voiceless alveolar fricative sound and it is translated as th to the Latin script. Therefore Osman is translated as Ottomanus to Latin and the name of the empire is translated as Ottoman. However, the Greek letter sigma is already a sibilant consonant and in should be translated to Greek as omicron or omega instead of alpha in the chronicles. Another supporting argument to this claim is that neither Osman I's ancestors have Islamic names nor his uncles, brothers, and lieutenants. This may not be true, however, since his grandfather is commonly believed to be Suleiman Shah, whose name is Islamic. Being nomads, his ancestors were exposed to Islamic culture very little and they first started to live a sedentary life during the leadership of Ertugrul in Sogut. In addition, according to a famous tale, Osman I first saw Quran in the house of Sheikh Edebali, whose daughter Osman I married later. Osman I's eldest son and successor was Orhan, whose name has also origins in Old Turkish. The first Islamic name in Osman I's lineage is of his son, Alaeddin. He is possibly named after Alaeddin Kekubat III, who was the Seljuk Sultan of Rum of the era, as a tribute. Origins of empire. One tradition states that Ertugrul, Osman I's father, led the Turkic tribe west from Central Asia into Anatolia, fleeing the Mongol onslaught. His mother was named Halimi. He pledged allegiance to Sultan Kekubat I of the Seljuk Principality of Rum, who gave him permission to establish a beylik and expand it if he could, at the expense of the neighboring Byzantine provinces. This location was auspicious, as the wealthy Byzantine Empire was weakening to his west, while in the east, Muslim forces under the Seljuk Turks were splintered and distracted in the face of relentless Mongol aggression as well as internal bickering. Baghdad had been sacked by Hulagu Khan in 1258, about the time Osman was born. In 1231, Ertugrul conquered the Nishan town of Abajan, which was renamed to Sogut and became the first capital of his territory, and where Osman was born. Ottoman historians often dwell on the prophetic significance of his name, which means bone breaker, signifying the powerful energy with which he and his followers appeared to show in the following centuries of conquest. The name Osman is the Turkish variation of the name Othman, or Uthman, of Arabic origin. Osman became chief, or bey, upon his father's death. By this time, mercenaries were streaming into his realm from all over the Islamic world to fight against and hopefully plunder the weakening Byzantine Empire. In addition, the Turkic population of Osman's emirate were constantly reinforced by a flood of refugees, fleeing from the Mongols. Of these, many were Ghazi warriors, or fighters for Islam, border fighters who believed they were fighting for the expansion or defense of Islam. Osman appears to have followed the strategy of increasing his territories at the expense of the Byzantines while avoiding conflict with his more powerful Turkish neighbors. His first advances were through the passes which lead from the barren areas of northern Phrygia near modern Eskişehir into the more fertile plains of Bithynia, according to Stanford Shaw. These conquests were achieved against the local Byzantine nobles, some of whom were defeated in battle, others being absorbed peacefully by purchase contracts, marriage contracts, and the like. These early victories and exploits are favorite subjects of Ottoman writers, especially in love stories of his wooing and winning the fair Malhatchin. These legends have been romanticized by the poetical pens which recorded them in later years. The Ottoman writers attached great importance to this legendary, dreamlike conception of the founder of their empire. Osman's dream. Osman Ghazi appreciated the opinions of the famous I.e. Sheikh Edebali, and he respected him. Osman often visited Edebali in his home at Eskişehir, where a dervish group met. One night, when Osman was a guest in Edebali's durga, he had a dream. As the sun rose, he went to Edebali and told him, "My sheikh, I saw you in my dream. A moon appeared in your breast. It rose, and then descended into my breast. From my navel there sprang a tree. It grew, and branched out so much, that the shadow of its branches covered the whole world. What does my dream mean?" After a brief silence, Edebali interpreted, "Congratulations, Osman. God Almighty bestowed sovereignty upon you and your generation. My daughter will be your wife, and the whole world will be under the protection of your children." Military victories. According to Shaw, Osman's first real conquest followed the collapse of Seljuk authority when he was able to occupy the fortresses of Eskişehir and Karacahisar. Then he captured the first significant city in his territories, Yeniseiar, which became the Ottoman capital. In 1302, after soundly defeating a Byzantine force near Nicaea, Osman began settling his forces closer to Byzantine-controlled areas. The influx of Ghazi warriors and adventurers of differing backgrounds into these lands spurred subsequent Ottoman rulers to title themselves Sultan of Ghazis. Alarmed by Osman's growing influence, the Byzantines gradually fled the Anatolian countryside. Byzantine leadership attempted to contain Ottoman expansion, but their efforts were poorly organized and ineffectual. Meanwhile, Osman spent the remainder of his reign expanding his control in two directions: north along the course of the Sakarya River and southwest towards the Sea of Marmara, achieving his objectives by 1308. That same year his followers participated in conquest of the Byzantine city of Ephesus near the Aegean Sea, thus capturing the last Byzantine city on the coast, although the city became part of the domain of the Emir of Aydin. Osman's last campaign was against the city of Bursa. Although Osman did not physically participate in the battle, the victory at Bursa proved to be extremely vital for the Ottomans, as the city served as a staging ground against the Byzantines in Constantinople, and as a newly adorned capital for Osman's son, Orhan. Osman, the founder of the Ottoman Empire, risen from Anatolia and reigned for 600 years, over 3 continents. Osman Ghazi died of gout in Bursa in 1326. When he died, he left a horse armor, a pair of high boots, a few sunjaks, a sword, a lance, etiques, a few horses, 3 herds of sheep, salt and spoon containers. Last testament. In directing his son to continue the administrative policies set forth by Sheikh Edebali, Osman stated, "Son, be careful about the religious issues before all other duties. The religious precepts build a strong state. Do not give religious duties to careless, faithless and sinful men, or to dissipated, indifferent or inexperienced people, and also do not leave the state administrations to such people, because the one with fear of God the Creator has no fear of the created. One who commits a great sin and continues to sin cannot be loyal. Scholars, virtuous men, artists and literary men are the power of the state's structure. Treat them with kindness and honor. Build close relationship when you hear about a virtuous man and give wealth and grant him. Put order the political and religious duties. Take lesson from me. So I came to these places as a weak leader, and I reached to the help of God, although I did not deserve. You follow my way and protect Din Muhammadi and the believers, and also your followers. Respect the right of God and his servants. Do not hesitate to advise your successors in this way. Depend on God's help in the esteem of justice and fairness, to remove the cruelty, attempts in every duty. Protect your public from enemies' invasion and from the cruelty. Do not behave any person in an unsuitable way with unfairness. Gratify the public and save all of their sake. The Sword of Osman. The Sword of Osman was an important sword of state used during the coronation ceremony of the sultans of the Ottoman Empire. The practice started when Osman was girt with the Sword of Islam by his mentor and father-in-law Sheikh Edebali. The girding of the Sword of Osman was a vital ceremony which took place within 2 weeks of a sultan's accession to the throne. It was held at the tomb complex set up on the Golden Horn waterway in the capital Constantinople. The fact that the emblem by which a sultan was enthroned consisted of a sword was highly symbolic. It showed that the office with which he was invested was first and foremost that of a warrior. The Sword of Osman was girded onto the new sultan by the Sharif of Konya, a Mevlevi dervish, who was summoned to Constantinople for that purpose. Such a privilege was reserved to devout religious leaders from the time Osman had established his residence in Konya in 1299, before the capital was moved to Bursa and later to Constantinople. Marriages an issue. He married Mulhun Hatun in 1280, daughter of Omar Abdulaziz Bey. He also additionally married Rabia Bala Hatun in 1289, daughter of Sheikh Edebali. Alaeddin Pasha, died in 1332, son of Rabia Bala Hatun. Orhan I, son of Mulhun Hatun. In popular media, Osman is portrayed by Aguz Oktay in 2012 film Feta 1453. Osman appears in Mehmed II's dream and tells him that Mehmed is the commander prophesied by Muhammad as Constantinople's conqueror.